Hello, UMBC class of 2024. How are you? My name is Ashley Gaddy, and I welcome you to your Welcome Week and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion portion. I'm going to spend about 30 minutes with you today on the keynote, and then we're going to invite some awesome students in to hear from. Please, this is an open session. So please feel free to use the chat feature. 2020 has brought us some circumstances that means we have to be virtual, but let's make sure that we connect. Let me feel your energy. I'm an energy person. So this is called Small Steps Matter, bringing belonging into your daily lives. Also, please feel free to engage with me on social media. So on Instagram, Ashley Gaddy Enterprises, follow me. Feel free to at me on anything that you like or hear today. Use the hashtag AGESpeaks. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, Ashley Gaddy Enterprises. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Gaddy Enterprise. So that one's slightly different, Gaddy Enterprise. So follow me, and if you're feeling something that I'm saying, if you like a slide, take a picture. Make sure you use the hashtag and also at me, and I'll be sure to send you some love back. So a little bit about who I am. You may want to know who is in front of you today. So I am a Black Southern woman hailing from Raleigh, North Carolina originally, but today I am calling to you from Silver Spring, Maryland. Educator and student are my 5 top identities. My undergrad work was at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington with my degree in communication studies and leadership studies. And my master's is also from UNCW in liberal studies, which is the study of the human condition. I am currently a doctoral candidate, dissertating, snaps for that, at George Mason University. So I am so excited to soon be Dr. Ashley Gaddy. My favorite things are Hamilton. Is anyone loving the fact that Hamilton is on Disney Plus right now? If so, let me show me some love or drop your favorite song or your favorite line from Hamilton in the chat. And then also the beach. I really love the beach area. And then also cheese. It's my favorite food. Cheez-Its, cheese puffs, the block of cheese, whatever it is, I really love cheese. My favorite quote is "You become what you think about." That's from my daddy. I hear a lot of people say that someone said it before my father, and that's fine, but I quote my father. My professional background, so I spent 7 years in higher education. So I worked in housing and residence life. I worked in multicultural affairs. I worked at George Mason University, at Virginia Commonwealth University, and at Coastal Carolina University. So I really feel, what you all are feeling right now and being live on a college campus or being virtual for a college campus. That's a bit different for me. So you are already being brave by doing this experience virtually. But before higher education, I was in corporate telecommunications and retail. And my fear, interestingly enough, is presenting makes me heightened. So presenting is not my normal. It's not my flow. I have to really practice to do this. So that's a little bit about who I am. And now I want to get you involved. So here is what I want you to do. I want you in the chat to drop one word that describes 2020 for you. Think about what 2020 has been. Let me see you in the chat. Show yourself. This is interactive. This is not you just get to put yourself on mute and then chill. Long, cozy, right? Improvement, painful. That's real. That is so real. Roller coaster, yes, up and down, up and down. What else we got? What has 2020 been? Whiplash. That's real, right? Like you kind of find yourself going like this. Chaotic, boring, all right? Awkward, heard, received. I understand that. Continue to keep putting in the work in 2020 because we really want you all to see that you may not be the only person feeling how you've been feeling in 2020. I know there might have been some times where it feels isolating, but when you get to see your peers and how they've been feeling in 2020, it might make you feel a little better. Overwhelming, a learning experience. Absolutely. So thank you so much for putting in those one word about what 2020. Clearly, you saw from my intro video what I bring, from 2020. It has been a time of chaotic. I'm going to use the person who put chaotic in, but I really am hopeful that 2020 can make some change. So now let's talk about what that looks like on UMBC's campus. So the learning outcomes for today, retrievers, you're going to learn the differences between diversity, inclusion, and belonging. You're also going to be able to reflect on your social identities and lived experiences. And you're going to gain an understanding on how to build an inclusive campus culture in your daily life. Now, let's talk about the difference, right? Diversity. And if you want to also put what diversity means to you in the chat, please feel free to engage. So diversity is just the individual differences, right? Whether that be within your personality, whether that be individual, whether that be within a group or social differences. Diversity is simply just the difference. Race, ethnicity, gender, those are identity group memberships that allow for difference to be shown. So we're going to use the analogy of the party, right? You may have heard this before. Diversity is when you get the invitation to the party. Everyone gets an invitation, right? We're pulling the Oprah. You get an invitation. You get an invitation. You get an invitation. And diversity is just the fact that there are a lot of people there. It's very different. Everyone got invited. Now, inclusion. Inclusion is when it is active, intentional, and ongoing. Those are three major words. Inclusion is not something that just stops. You have to be proactive and intentional before something happens. And you engage with that difference. You engage with that diversity, and to increase awareness and content knowledge and empathetic understanding of the complex differences that someone may have. So when someone feels included, or you're being inclusive and thoughtful about those differences, that is when there are some bigger changes happening. So diversity is everyone gets the invitation to the party. But inclusion is when the party planner goes, let me have someone be the DJ and play the music that they like, right? Let's empower them to bring in their culture, to bring in their music, and then they become the DJ. Now, belonging, once we have difference and once we have an inclusion, this usually moves. So if you know what gifts we doing, you know my friend be doing this, right? So it's not moving right now on the screen, but we are able to, if you kind of know what gifts I'm using. Belonging is when the acceptance. You feel like you're an acceptance of a member. You're a part of the group. As a retriever at UMBC, you want to feel like you're a part of the campus culture. So when you have diversity and you work to be inclusive, that is where you can feel like you belong. And feeling like you belong is one of the most important ways in which someone feels valued. To the point where people who feel excluded triggers the same part of the brain as physical harm. So it really is important that you feel inclusive on your campus culture. So let's go. Put it in the chat again. What makes you feel like you belong? When what happens or when someone does what makes you feel like you belong? When everyone is laughing? Yes, absolutely. What makes you feel like you belong? When someone does what? So I know that I feel like I belong when someone understands my time, right? So if you're familiar with love languages, acts of service is my top love language. So I really love when people respect my time and help me out. So I really feel like I belong when that is cherished. Someone sees my true, authentic self without question, absolutely. And I will also go on to say without judgment, right? How important it feels to be authentic without judgment. When people are being attentive, when I am talking and engaging, and they're really engaging with me, I understand that. When I feel validated and other folks respect me unconditionally, yes, These are amazing ways, eye contact and smiling. And that's going to be something that's going to be interesting in this virtual world, right? Like, how can I make sure, and you make sure during the year, that you're really in that webcam and that you're smiling and that your energy radiates? But also, how do we honor the introverts, right? I am an introvert. It takes a lot for me, as you saw on my intro slide, to get myself ready to deliver. So how do we also make sure that we are being inclusive and intentional about people who may not want to engage with the webcam all the time? Hence the chat feature, right? Hence the polling feature. So I really appreciate you all showing each other and myself what makes you feel like you belong. And again, if there's something that you're liking, that your peers are saying, or that we're saying, on Ashley Gaddy Enterprises, hashtag AGEspeaks. So now we need to know the why. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, why am I doing this, right? Why do I want to be inclusive? Why do I want to make the feeling of belonging for my other classmates or for my roommates or for my campus community? The why question starts with self. This is the first variation of making change. And when I say change, don't necessarily think it's this big change, right? It can also be at the individual level. So you really want to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want there to be a change? And when you find that answer, it might not come automatically. You may not know the answer to that question automatically, but you are really able to self-reflect on that question of why you want to make change, especially on UMBC's campus. So now we have a poll question, right? This is where you get to do the poll to see, do you recognize that there's a change needed in the world? So go ahead and see the poll. You have 1, 2, 3 options. Yes, you do recognize that a change is needed. No, you do not recognize that a change is needed. Or I haven't really thought about it. And this is, I saw some authenticity in the chat. Really be real with yourself, right? The greatness thing about the poll is that we don't see who's putting it in. So really be real with yourself. Do you recognize that a change is needed? Yes, no, or I honestly haven't thought about it. We'll give you a couple of more seconds to put in your answers, to lock in your answers. 20 seconds left. Do you recognize that a change is needed? And that could be in the world, that could be on UMBC's campus, that can be back home. It's relative of where you see that at. All right, the poll chat or the poll feature will be closing down. Let's go ahead and see what everyone said. Okay, so we have a large amount of people who say that they do recognize that there is a change needed, right? That there is something that they see needs to be different. So this can really help to create that answer for you of your why. Maybe your why is not for yourself. Maybe it's for other people so that other people can be better. Or maybe it's just for the fact that there needs to be a change in the world. So really use this for reflection on creating the answer to your why. Now, sticking with self, right? Understand that self is the most vital part to diversity, inclusion, and belonging. To know yourself is one of the most powerful ways to do this work. So here are some questions to help you think about your identity and to really help you think about who you are. What are your earliest childhood memories, right? With that being said, it's like, do you remember the first time when So for me, I give an example. The first time I knew I was a girl or that this girl title was on me, it was Easter. I was about 7 years old. If anyone understands the combination of Easter and lace, it is real. So my mom put me in these lace socks, right? And they were really itchy. And I was like, Mom, these socks are itching me. Like, why does it call for all of this? And she said, those are girl socks. And you're a girl. And because you're a girl, you wear these socks. And that was really my earliest childhood memory of knowing or someone telling me that I was a girl. So again, and you might want to answer some of these questions in the chat as you think about it. What gives you power and privilege in society? I know my educational status does, right? Having an advanced degree allows me to have a seat, maybe different table than I did before having my bachelor's or while I was an undergrad. What do you think about the least? What are some identities that you think about least? I really don't go around the world thinking about, every single day I wake up and I say, oh, I'm an American citizen. I'm an American citizen, right? I don't think about that identity every day, and that is usually tied to some form of privilege. What has an effect on your decision making? What identities? So I'm not going to go through all of these based off of time purposes, but this is the most vital first step. Really get to know yourself. One question that's really impactful, especially in 2020, what do you take away about yourself in 2020, right? I thought that I actually had more tolerance for being indoors because I was an introvert. 2020 taught me that I have about a 2 weeks max and then I got to get out, right? Quarantine is safe and quarantine is good. But after 2 weeks, I got to get out the house. And so really get to know yourself. Again, you can continue to drop some things in the chat, some answers to these questions. And you'll also have your e-learning and discussions that you will do through the remaining time of Welcome Week. So this can be the starting point for you. And that's the beauty about identity. It's situational. You don't have to have the answers right now, but eventually you do need to know how to answer the question, who am I, outside of just your name and your major. So here are some ways that you can contribute to an inclusive campus community in your daily lives. Again, people think change is so big. Powerful change can really happen on a small scale. So here are a few tangible things you can do to be inclusive. Again, inclusion means that active, ongoing, intentional aspect, right? So first, be nice to people. Like literally just simply be nice to people. And sometimes, people give you all of these, theories and all of these, all of this research. My first tip to be inclusive, just be nice to people. Remember, your experience is not the only one. We're about to hear from some dynamic students here shortly. And as you're going to see, even their experiences are different. And they've all been at UMBC before. So your experience is not the only one. Do not assume. Ask questions, right? Don't just assume that whatever the message in your head told you is true. Do not assume that when you see something, you know the answer. And when you ask questions for clarity. Ask questions for learning, right? Like my mama says, don't just be around here being nosy, right? Ask questions to really want to know the answer and learn about someone else. Educate others in your peer group. So when you have your group of friends or you have your group memberships or you have your family, educate each other, right? Some of your very own friends may not know about another identity, or they may not know about a resource that you're using. Educate others in your peer group. The beauty about your peer group is that there's always some form of rapport or connection that you all have that already binds you together. So it's easier sometimes to educate them when there's already friendship there or a relationship there. Be humble in making a mistake. You will mess up. And then you're going to mess up again. And then I am going to mess up. And then I am going to mess up again. But when we do, try to just do better next time. And don't let the fear of messing up make you silent. Everyone's so worried about getting the right name and being politically correct and not stepping on any toes. But if you have a fear of that and you don't do anything, then you become silent. So sometimes you just have to give it your best shot, lead from your heart, speak from your heart, and if you make a mistake, be humble in that, apologize, and do better next time. Listen to people when they share their stories. Do not use people's differences as jokes. So you may or may not heard of this term called microaggressions. Microaggressions are those small kind of comments and movements and snickers that make you feel like that felt like it hurt, but it wasn't so blatant. So I'm not quite sure if they were joking or if they were serious. So don't use people's differences as jokes. Our identity is made for beauty, not for comedy in a way in which is microaggressive. Tell your story. I am so excited for these students to come on here soon and share their story. When you share your story, every time you are speaking your power. You are powerful, retrievers. You are powerful. Your experiences, your narrative, what you've been through, what you feel right now, all of those one words that you dropped in the chat, tell people why grief is your word. Tell people why roller coaster is your word. Because when you do, you share and spread your power and you have impact. And when you have impact, that feeling of belonging comes from that. And people can feel like they belong because of your story. And did I mention, just be nice to people, right? Like simply just start there. There is a lot more work to be done, but if you just start there and get to know yourself, you can gradually extend out to those larger things. So these are just a few tangible ways. Again, if some of these are speaking to you, use the hashtag AGESpeaks, right? Share with your UMBC community. There may be some people, there may be some people who in your family who need to see these, right? Like you may have someone in your family who may not be the nicest person and you just need to say, hey, be nice to people, right? It's not just us here together who may need some of these. So these are just a couple of simple ways in your day-to-day life on campus that you can have an inclusive community. And when we all practice together, right? When we embrace diversity, when we celebrate difference, when we truly know ourselves, and when we get to do the work of being inclusive and being intentional and doing those things in our daily life, when we practice together, then we can feel like this. That's when we can all belong, right? That's when we can move. I'm seeing you, Colin, right? That's when we can really feel this sense of belonging on our UMBC's campus community. And belonging is the feeling of like dancing like no one's looking. Belonging is like dancing and not caring, right? That true authenticity that someone put in the chat, that's belonging. So when we practice inclusion and when we practice diversity and embrace diversity on our campus, when we do it together, then we can dance like no one is looking. So that is what I have for you today to kick us off, Retrievers. I thank you so much for allowing me to come and spend time. Thank you to Dr. Lee and also the Office of Campus Life. So again, here is my information on social media. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. I also have a website, AshleyGaddyEnterprises.com. And also use the hashtag AGESpeaks, or you can at me and I can make sure that I spread the love. And please know, right, I'm right here in Silver Spring, or because we're virtual, we have access to each other. So please use my social media. If you need anything in the future at your time at UMBC, feel free to also use me as a resource. So now we are going to get excited about listening to your peers. You heard a little bit about my story. You heard a little bit about what I'm doing. And again, if you want to send me messages privately, feel free to do so, and I will read those personally. But now let's hear from your peers. Everybody, go ahead and give a warm welcome to our student panelists. Y'all can do some, I can't see you, but you can cheer, you can give them some snaps, you can give them some claps, you can give them one of these since we've been dancing already, right? So we are going to have you introduce yourself, panelists, and then we will get started with the question. Angel, I think you kick us off.
Okay, sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name is Angel. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a senior at UMBC, so this will be my last year. I'm very excited. I'm a psychology major. And I came to UMBC as first generation student, which is a huge deal to my family because that's the whole reason why we moved to America, was so I could achieve that higher education. And I've loved every single year that I've been here. I have found many opportunities, both academic, cultural, and that align with my identities. And that's been, I think, one of the most unique things that I've experienced on campus. And well, I won't bore you with all the details, so I will pass it on to
Awesome.
Colin.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Colin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a junior computer science major, and I'm calling in from campus actually in Susquehanna. So my UMBC story, I guess, is that I'm pretty local. I'm from Maryland originally. So I came to UMBC specifically though, looking for a community of people who had similar like goals as me. You know, I wanted to. I knew going into the school I wanted to find my group of people who wanted to work together on things, whether that be classes or projects or, you know, extracurricular stuff and volunteering things that I was passionate about. I really wanted to like solve issues and stuff like that coming to UMBC. And yeah, that's kind of my stick about UMBC. So who's
Hi, I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Gray. I'm a rising junior studying dance and media and communication studies with a minor in public administration and policy. I go by he, him, his pronouns, and I am going to be speaking to you today from California, Maryland, which is like the tip of Southern Maryland. So I always like to give that as like a nice little reference.
Hi, my name is Sofia Encarnacion. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am an econ and math double major with a minor in gender studies. I'm a junior. I work at the Initiatives for Identity, Culture and Initiatives for Identity. We used to be called the Mosaic, and we changed our name very recently. So I'm sorry that I forgot the name. It's abbreviated to I3B. Just know that. I am the Mosaic peer for that group as well. And I will pass it off to Tirza.
Hello, my name is Tirza Khan. I am a senior. I use she, her pronouns. I'm studying information systems and psychology. I'm calling from Towson, Maryland. I'm currently the president of TEDx UMBC. I work at the Student Events Board, Hack UMBC, and also Center for Democracy and Civic Life. I will pass it off to whoever has not gone yet, or am I the last person?
Yeah, this is me. No, you're good. So, hi everyone. My name is Jessica. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a Psych BS, Psych BS major with a double minor in biology and with writing. I'm also a rising senior, so it's going to hopefully be my last year as well, and I will hopefully be graduating. I'm calling from Bel Air, Maryland. I guess slight mini background, like I've been involved with like Res Life, SGA, RSA, Honors College, and Greek Life as well. But mostly my background and such and what I identify strongly with is being Korean American, having intersectional identities, and having peers who have those intersectional identities as well. So I kind of come from a background of very like suburban area as well as moving around a lot of times. So I know how hard it can be to find a community and find people to resonate with. So I'm hoping to kind of introduce my experiences to kind of help guide you all in those experiences as well.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and do that then. This question is for everyone. Share your UMBC story in 2 minutes. Some highlight aspects of who you are, your social identities, your people, your places, and spaces that have been special to you during your time here at UMBC.
Yeah, I can kick that off. I would say that my story really starts with the Linehan Artist Scholars Program. We have a few different scholars programs at UMBC, and that's the one with my dance background that I identified with the most. And from that as my entryway into the university, I then went on to find my other interests. So first I was like, what would align with the previous experiences I've had, right? So I was involved with SGA in high school as well as middle school, so I was like, boom, that's a selling point. So I went to find my SGA community. I started off as a first-year ambassador, which is like our introduction to SGA program. And then last year I served as the co-advisor of that program, so working behind the scenes on like planning all the logistics and working with students to get them exposed to the structure of our SGA and to campus resources and campus partners more broadly. And then I went on this year to serve as the vice president for student organizations, which basically means I have the privilege of advocating for all the student organizations and acting in a few different capacities in voting rights. So that's like my SGA journey, and then that got me exposed to the Center for Democracy and Civic Life, which is our center that does a lot of work around the civic process, democracy, and what that means, and what in its expanded definition it could mean in the world. So I participated in Alternative Spring Break, and then I led an Alternative Spring Break, and then I also participated in Strive for Leadership Retreat. ASB, or Alternative Spring Break, is just a 6-day immersive learning experience that's centered around service, and it's in Baltimore City. And then Strive is, like I said, just a leadership program. But I give all those experiences to say that, like, all of the different, like, concrete spaces that I've been able to be a part of honestly have shaped my experience, and that goes even beyond the academics. Obviously, that's the reason we're in college, right? But like all of these more informal spaces where I got to be in community with other people and learn from them was where I learned the most. That's where I have been able to grow the most, and I think that those are in my opinion, the most important spaces, because you get to have just community with others and really learn from them and be able to gain all these great skills from their expertise.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshua. Anyone's next? Your 2 minutes UMBC story.
I can go. Well, for me originally, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, I was not enthusiastic about going to UMBC at first, because I know comparison is like the thief of joy, but I was comparing myself to like all my peers and my family, and they had gone to like Ivy League schools and stuff. So I guess I came in with that mindset, and it changed a lot more once I found my communities. When I started working at the Mosaic, I like made friends through that, and Strive, like what Josh had mentioned earlier, the leadership retreat. I met my best friend, Theresa, through it, and also through hackathons. I'm not even a comp sci major. I just like hackathons. They're fun. I also joined the dance team, which was cool because I didn't have any dance experience. And I also found my academic passions through like taking my first upper level econ classes. I was like, oh, I can actually it's exciting being able to take classes that you actually are passionate about and not just like going to gym class like you did in high school, you know. I was going to plug more resources, but I know everyone else is going to plug more resources too, so.
And thank you, Sophia. And I know some of you also kind of gave some of your story in your intro, right? So we can move on with other questions for that. But if anyone else wants to tell their 2-minute story, have at it.
I'll go. So, like I said, I'm a senior. And so when I came to UMBC, what feels like 100 years ago, but it was actually only like 3 years ago, it was like really hard for me to find my community because I was pre-med and I didn't want to be. I was really scared and talking to people. And I was also just like fear around the election of being like a visibly Muslim woman, just like safety issues and things like that. So I was kind of nervous just interacting with people in general. And it was also just like my first time being away from home. So I spent a lot of my first year just like alone in my dorm room watching Stranger Things on loop. But it wasn't until I actually applied to work at the Mosaic that I really started to like actually find my community. So from there, I started finding people who had faced similar obstacles to me and who through that like found similar ways to cope. So for example, I'm really passionate about using art as a way to build community and like advocate for marginalized people. And so I like for the first time at UMBC, I like found people who wanted the same things and who did the same things. And so after that, I really like gained the confidence to start looking for like different organizations and experiences where I like was feeling challenged to do better and be better and not I didn't just like stay in the comfort of my dorm room. So for example, like I'm really passionate about increasing education in tech, so I joined Hack UMBC. I'm passionate about helping students feel engaged in their college experience, so I joined the Student Events Board and the Center for Democracy and Civic Life. And I'm also passionate about just like uplifting other women of color. So I joined the Women of Color Collective at the Women's Center. If you are a woman of color, I would highly recommend going to their sessions. They're incredible and amazing. But also, like if I didn't see a group of people who were recognized by the university that shared the same interests as me, I like made my own. So that's why I like founded TEDx UMBC with Sophia, who's one of my best friends. And so you know, like creating those experiences, finding them for myself was really important. And so before coming to UMBC, I didn't realize how important those interests were for me. But it was really once I was able to find my communities and find my people that I started to benefit the most from my UMBC experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. And I also want to acknowledge and lift up the people who are sharing their story in the chat. We see you. I'm reading them. Your stories are loved. So if you feel moved to share your story with the panelists or everyone or just us privately, feel free to be empowered to do so. So I want to honor the stories that are coming here in the chat. Colin, did you have something to add? I'm not quite sure if you had something in your intro, but we'll lift up your voice for this.
Yeah, for sure. So when I came to UMBC, one of the very first communities that spoke out to me as a technology major was the Center for Women in Technology. They did a lot of work with outreach specifically for K through 12 girls and increasing their representation in technology fields. And so I work with them now as the Living Learning community for incoming freshmen who want to join that community as well. But if you're not on that floor, then by all means we have my UMBC page where we keep all our events updated, and anyone at all is more than welcome to become an affiliate of that page. And it's kind of like my community within UMBC that I want to share my 2 minutes of. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Jessica, Angel, anything in addition to your intro that you want to add, or you're good for the next one?
I could add something small. So something that I wanted to say is like, I'd say when finding your community, like there's no one right way to do it. If you have a particular interest that you're really passionate about, I like research, so I invested a lot into the research side, and I found like an archive group, and I presented for a poster with my group, and but also try to open yourself to other opportunities too. In high school, I was incredibly quiet. I had no interest in student government, period. But going into college, I kind of opened that door by joining SGA and joining like student government, and then also joining the Resident Student Association in those positions as well. So put energy into the stuff that you love, but also continue to keep your avenues open, because it's beautiful to have communities in different areas and to really expand your perspectives. So I just want to add that in.
You got me over here saying yes, yes. I know that's right. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next question. Transitioning to a university as a first-year student can feel really lonely, right? Especially also think about all that we're taking in 2020. How did you find your people, and how did you find your community? Again, if some of it has been in your intro or question one, you can feel free to add on if there's anything else. But if not, how did you find your people and your community in the first year only?
I can start us off. And it was a good question, a good follow-up question, because I wanted to say something to the previous question, but I think it's more appropriate here. The first semester is always awkward, and it's hard to, see what you like, see what you don't like. For me, it was trial and error. I, at the time, went to the LGBTQ club and didn't really feel like I belonged there. And, carrying an identity that belongs to that particular group, I felt like an outcast. And, that was really hard, because it was like the first time that I was exposed to a campus that was open-minded enough to even have a club like this, because in my high school, it didn't exist. And it was so shocking to me that I felt so out of place. But like-minded people have a way of coming together in different ways. And one of the ways that I found my group of people was through residential life. I applied to be an RA, I got the position, and was placed in Potomac my first year. And our staff was over half LGBTQ plus identifying members of the staff. And I found my community there. I found the people who shared that LGBTQ identity with me, and it just felt so natural. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. If you try once and it doesn't work, even if you did your research, it's okay to be upset and to be bummed, but know that it probably just wasn't a good fit for you at that time. And like Jessica said, keep those avenues open, keep trying. Don't limit yourself to one failure, because in all honesty, it's going to take you a lot of time to find your family on campus. And even to this day, I'm still finding my family on campus, and it's still growing. So trial and error was my best way to find my family and support group here on campus.
Awesome. Thank you, Angel. As a former resident director, that makes my housing and residence life heart smile. There's community in housing. Just want to pause here to say, for the people who are listening, if you have any questions for our panelists, there's a Q&A feature. Please feel free to drop in a question or on the chat if you want to ask a personal question to our panelists. We're watching that time as well. So just wanted to say that so that you can start typing your questions if needed. All right, who's next? First year.
Can I, just because I have to leave a little bit early just because I have another thing after this, but I just wanted to add in, so UMBC, I think, especially for first year students, does a pretty good job with at least opening an opportunity or a stage for first year students to get to know one another. So an example of this, for example, a Welcome Week program, you engaging in the chat, that's one way that you're potentially making a friendship and potentially finding a community. A lot of us on this panel have been to Strive Leadership Retreat through the Center for Democracy and Civic Life. That's a really great program as well. Getting involved with different programs, events, and activities, trying to be brave with trying to use your voice and to kind of uplift your presence. But yeah, so I just want to add that in there because my time is limited.
No problem. Thank you, Jessica. All right, who's next? Your first year, how did you find your people?
I want to answer this question, but also I kind of want to edit it a little bit just because I can't imagine how frustrating it's being having us all share stories of events we attended and leadership retreats we went to when, like, that's not an option for a lot of the first year class. So things that are relevant that you guys can apply. Following Instagram pages because I had to for my work at the Center for Culture and Diversity, but also it's just like a good way to keep tabs on what orgs are doing, especially like recently, like we have a Black Lives Matter club and like they've been doing a lot of cool and interesting things, and like those like multicultural orgs, you can find them all. Honestly, if you just type UMBC, you can find like a bunch of UMBC orgs. And also recently, because I've been actually making friends through like online spaces during this pandemic through like Twitter and like Discord and stuff. So honestly, like if you find someone with similar interests, like make a group chat, like find spaces that are not always UMBC sanctioned, I guess. Like if you're always attending like online events, like that's cool and awesome and like this is a nice space. But like you're not going to be your most authentic self if you know like your professor's in the same room as you, you know. That's all.
Absolutely. Sophia, I appreciate that. So Colin, Tirza, Joshua, if you had something to add in your first year of what you did, but also again, thank you so much, Sophia. Be mindful of where our audience is right now in their first year, you know? So I'll open the floor, and then we actually did have a question pop up. So Colin, Joshua, Tirza, anything to add in your first year of how you found your people?
Yeah, I can give something very broad. And I actually was thinking about this as everyone else was sharing, just in reflection of the time and the circumstances that freshmen will be entering the university. But the first thing was, and this is honestly something that Dr. Jasmine Lee said in a speaking event that she did a long time ago, but she said just show up. Like that's the first step. You just have to be there. That's one thing. And then the next thing is doing good work, and I'm going to change that to investing in that space, right? So like how can you invest in this space, and people will draw to your energy when you have that investment, when you're being active and engaged and you're bringing your best self forward, and whatever that best self looks like at that moment. I think that that's what you have to emphasize, right? But like how can you show up and bring your best self and create an openness about you where people want to draw to that energy, where people want to come flock to you? I can say that, like, I've met everyone on this call, and I've been in several spaces with everyone on this call, and I think that we all share an openness to new adventures, new relationships, and that adventure, that openness is what brings experiences and expertise and relationships and different benefits to the college experience to you, right? So if I had to say anything, it would be show up, one, and then invest in that space no matter how you feel. I think that doing your very best to create that openness and investment is definitely the first step to creating a relationship that will go well beyond just the 4 years you have in college.
Thank you, Joshua. I love that. And understanding that your best self in that moment may not be your best self all the time, right? Like I gave 20% today, and that was the best for us for today. And being okay that it was just 20%, you know? Colin, Tirza, anything to add before we go to our final question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of maybe breaking the rules a little bit with this question, just say that, like, I kind of shared that, like, I didn't find my community during my first year. I, like, was just in my dorm alone most of the time, and now here I am, like, preaching the gospel of UMBC. Like, I love it so much. Like, at the end of my first year, I was, like, so ready to transfer. I was like, you know, this is not for me. But then I was like, let me stick it out for another year. Let me just see what happens. And then so many amazing things happened. I started finding friends. I started finding places where I felt welcome. So if it doesn't happen for you in your first year, especially during the, like, terrifying circumstances that we find ourselves in. It's okay. It's your time will come. It's gonna take some time, but it'll happen for you in whatever way that it's meant to. So don't feel let down or anything like that if it doesn't happen. Things will come at their own pace in their own time when you're ready. Yeah.
That's perfect. I love that. Thank you, Tirza, because even us saying first year could put this expectation or this pressure that it has to happen in your first year, and it doesn't. So thank you. Colin, anything else to add for our last question here?
Yeah, just a very generic advice was my first year. Like Ashley here, I'm extremely introverted usually. Like social situations drain me. They don't charge me, is what I like to say. But so being that I had to challenge myself my first year, because it was like that for everyone kind of, where like no one knew anyone coming as a first year, and I especially didn't know anyone. I didn't have anyone from my high school or anyone joining me, so I made it a point in all my classes to say hi to the people who sat next to me. In this virtual space, I still follow that. Even just as a junior. So in this virtual space, I'll make it a point to whenever we're like this, using my camera, using my voice whenever I can instead of the chat. In class, I'll email people to link up for study groups and stuff like that, since we can't talk to them physically. Really challenging myself to do that, even when it's not what I'm used to, was kind of how I found my people as a first-year student.
Perfect, Colin. That's a perfect segue into our last question. Sorry. All right, here we go. Adaptability, folks. You ready? This is not a question that was on the list, but we're going to go rapid fire, and it doesn't necessarily have to be UMBC specific. What have you done, especially maybe in the past 4 months or so? And Jessica, if you have to dip. Bye, Jessica. Thank you so much. What have you done that has helped you feel connected during COVID and the quarantine? So for me, I'll go very quickly. Clearly, it's Hamilton, and clearly it's writing this dissertation. So rapid fire, what have you done to feel connected, UMBC or not, during COVID and quarantine? Go.
I've been making a lot of art and posting it on Instagram.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Who else?
Netflix party. And like I said, that group chat that I mentioned before, a lot of those people go to UMBC, and I've never met them because of the pandemic, but I consider them like one of my closest friends.
I would say
you go.
Me and some of my best friends who started a Bible study group, and it's just like the best experience wanting to have some FaceTime with them, but then just simply to recharge.
I think Sophia mentioned Discord earlier, so I have a Discord I met with UMBC friends, and it's completely open. And we play online games together, and it's been really great, very team focused and really great bonding.
And I have been delving into a lot of playlist making and sharing that with people. So if I hear a song and that reminds me of someone, I'm like, hey, here's a playlist based on this one song that really reminded of you. Here are some other songs that reminded me of you. And that's how I've been staying connected and engaged with my friends.
I love it, right? So it doesn't necessarily, like Sophia said or someone said earlier, it doesn't have to be tied to the school. So people in the audience, you might have just heard something that was like, hey, I make art, or I love music, or whatever the case may be. These are other ways that we can feel connected. We have 4 minutes left, panelists. The best resources that our students need to engage with while here at UMBC. Go.
Center for Democracy and Civic Life. Everything they do is amazing. Go to any of their programs. There's one on Friday. You will not regret it.
The Initiatives for Identity, Inclusion, and Belonging. I got the acronym right now. Also the Women's Center.
I have to plug the Student Government Association. We have a lot of different resources that you can tap into, and you can also be involved yourself.
I'll take a quick moment. If you like doing active things beyond discussion as well, the Shriver Center is a great resource for volunteering within the
And a little bias plug, your resident assistants. They're not an organization, but use them, please. I'm an RA, and I'm here to help you, direct you to the SGA, to the Women's Center, to the Center of Civic Life and Democracy. Like, we are here as a resource as well. And trust me, we know all about the resources and how to get you connected. So reach out to your RAs for any questions.
Absolutely. You don't have to remember all the resources here today, but if you know someone who can get you there, then you only need to remember one name or one person or one place or one social media handle, right? Panelists, thank you so much for sharing your power. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your identities and your narratives. I have learned a lot about you and your time. Audience, I hope that you have too. I hope you can resonate with your peers here. And so if there's something, again, in my story or your peer story or in the presentation time today that you've enjoyed, hashtag AGE Speaks, and then use the social media handles that UMBC has to share and spread this power and this knowledge. So thank you so much for joining us today. Panelists, hang tight. We're going to spend time after this phone call, but for everyone else, thank you so much. And y'all have a great year, Retrievers. You got this, I promise. Bye now.